Soon they were in the little roads outside the village, and there were no other cars, only Aunt Min's. Driving was difficult. The car could not stop easily in the snow. Aunt Min drove carefully, but with a worried face. They were in the road near the castle. Aunt Min tried to drive slowly, but the car went faster and faster in the snow. "I can't stop it," she said. And then the car went off the road and hit a tree. Aunt Min put her hands to her face and shut her eyes. "Are you okay?" Claire asked. Yes, I think so," said her aunt. They got out of the car and looked at it. "I can't drive it now," said Aunt Min. "I must phone the garage in the village. Mr. Perkins can drive out and see it tomorrow. But now we must get home, Claire." Claire looked across the fields. She could see Jenny Castle. Aunt Min looked at the castle, too, and Claire could read her aunt's thoughts. It was more than 2 miles round the road, but if was not a mile across the fields. "Let's go across Walter Burge's field," said Aunt Min. "I can't walk all round the road." She got a light from inside the car. Then they went into the field and began to walk through the snow. Claire tried not to look at the castle. Walter Burge sat in a big chair in front of the fire in his cottage. There was a book about castles in his hands. There were other books in the little room, and many of them were about castles, too. His cat, Alexa, sat by the fire. Walter knew the stories that people in the village told about him. "He's crazy," they said. And he knew this. And he knew the stories about the castle. People said it was a bad, dangerous place. He didn't try to stop these stories because people stayed away when they heard them, and Walter didn't want people to go near the castle. He knew that the castle had its secrets. He stopped reading and closed his eyes. Alexa, the cat, stood up. She walked into the kitchen without making a sound and across to a window. The window was not quite shut, and she pushed it with her foot. When it was open, Alexa jumped down into the snow. She began to walk up to the castle. Walter opened his eyes. "It's time I went to bed, Alexa," he said. Then he saw that the cat was not there, and he got up out of the chair and walked through to the kitchen. "Alexa," he said. He saw the open window. "Again?" he said. "Why did you go out on a night like this?" Walter knew that the cat went up to the castle. He remembered other nights. Nights when people in the village heard sounds and saw lights on the black tower. Nights when Walter shut his cottage doors and stayed inside. Walter tried not to think about these things. He loved his castle, but he knew that the village people were worried about it. "The castle is a bad place," they said. "Pull it down." Walter did not want that to happen. "I must stop you, Alexa," he said. And he took a light from a cupboard, pulled on his shoes and coat, and went out of the back door into the snow and the wind. "I'm so cold," Claire thought. She and Aunt Min walked across the field. They could see Walter Burge's cottage 1/2 mile away. Claire was worried about her aunt. How far could she walk in the snow? The old woman's face was gray, and she was very, very tired. Claire took the light from Aunt Min, then put a hand under her aunt's arm. She helped her across the field to Walter Burge's cottage. "We must stop here for you to sit down, Aunt Min," Claire said above the sound of the wind. Her aunt was too tired to say anything. The front door of the cottage was shut, but Claire hit it with her hand. "Mr. Burge," she called. There was no answer. She tried to open the door, but it stayed shut. "Let's go round to the back," she told her aunt. They went round to the back door of the cottage. Claire looked at the snow by the door. "He's gone out," she thought. "I can see his footprints in the snow. They're going up to the castle. But what is he doing up there?" There was no time to think about this. Her aunt was cold and tired. Claire pushed open the back door of the cottage and they went inside. They found the room with the fire, and Aunt Min sat on the chair in front of it. Claire went to the kitchen and made her a cup of tea. When she came back, Aunt Min's eyes were closed. Claire looked at her watch. The time was 11 o'clock. After 2 or 3 minutes, Aunt Min opened her eyes. "Here's some tea for you," Claire said. "Thank you, Claire," said Aunt Min. Her voice was weak. "I'm a little better now." "You can't walk any more tonight," said Claire. "No, I don't think I can," said her aunt. "I'm going to find Mr. Burge," said Claire. "Perhaps he can take us home in his car." Aunt Min looked worried. "Where is he?" she asked. "I think he's up at the castle," said Claire. "Claire, you can't," Aunt Min began to say. "I know about the castle, Aunt Min," said Claire. "I'm not afraid." But she was afraid. Chapter 4. The Black Tower. Walter Burge looked up at the Black Tower and thought he saw a light, but perhaps he didn't. "I didn't see it," he said. He was afraid, and he knew it. He never went up to the castle at night. He never followed Alexa when she went out. He did not want to see or know the things that happened. But things did happen, because Alexa was more than a cat. Walter knew the story of Alexa, the witch with the fire-colored hair. He knew it well. He read it when he was a boy. Then, 10 years ago, the cat arrived at his cottage. Walter tried to send it away, but it came back again and again, and every time it came, it went up to the castle. After some time, Walter stopped trying to send the cat away. He gave it some food and called it Alexa because of its color. After that, the cat made its home in Walter's cottage. And then things began to happen. Birds in the castle began to die. Somebody found a dead dog in one of the towers. A stone from the Black Tower fell onto a woman's head and killed her. A small boy from the village got lost in the castle, and his father did not find him for 3 hours. After that day, the boy never spoke again. Then people began to see lights and things moving up on the towers, but when they went to look, there was nothing there. Now the village people stayed away, and nobody ever went up to the castle at night. Only Alexa. But tonight Walter was there too. "Alexa," he called. "Alexa." The wind took his words and carried them away. The orange cat sat on the tower. It saw the old man with the light in his hand. Then, far away, it saw another thing moving across the snow. It was the girl. The cat was afraid of the girl. It watched her with its green eyes. Why did the girl come to the castle? What did she want? Claire followed Walter Burge's footprints in the snow. They're going up to the Black Tower, she thought. But why? And who went there before him? She could see smaller footprints next to Walter's. Are they the footprints of a cat? She got to the bottom of the Black Tower and stopped. "Mr. Burge," she called. But the wind was too strong for him to hear her. I could wait for him to come down, she thought. But she remembered her aunt's tired face. No, Aunt Min must get home, so I must go and find him. The stairs were wet and difficult to see, and the wind was cold and strong. There was nothing to help her up the stairs, and her shoes were heavy with snow. And then she saw the orange light at the top of the tower. Suddenly there was another sound above the sound of the wind. What was it? Then she knew. It was the sound of a fire, of burning. Claire was very afraid. "Go back down," she told herself. "Now!" But her feet didn't move. Where was Walter Burge? Was he up there? His footprints went into the tower, but they did not come out again. Perhaps he's ill, thought Claire. Perhaps he wants some help. "Mr. Burge," she called. "Mr. Burge." Walter was inside a big orange light. He could not see through it. There was a fire, and he was in it, but he did not burn. Crazy, he thought. It was difficult to see in that light, but he could hear the sound. Ah! The sound was outside his head and inside it at the same time. "Alexa!" he called. "Alexa, stop! Stop this!" Now he could hear another sound, weaker, quieter. What was it? A girl? "Mr. Burge, Mr. Burge." "Who is it?" he said. "What's happening?" "It's Claire," the girl called. "Claire? I don't know anybody called Claire," he said. It was suddenly difficult to stand up. He put a hand on the tower wall. Claire? Claire? He did know a Claire. Now who? And then he remembered. Claire was the name of the girl, the daughter of the man 200 years ago at the castle. And she died because the witch did not help her. Her name was Claire. He remembered reading it in a book at the cottage. "Claire?" he said. "You're Claire? But Claire is dead." Some other thing said the name now. "Claire?" Something near him. A woman? He could hear it. He could hear the name in the sound of the fire. "Claire, Claire, Claire." The thing sounded very, very afraid. "No tea dead? Claire, not dead?" Suddenly the fire began to die, and the orange light began to go out. Now Walter could see the sky above him and the tower round him. "Not dead? Claire? Not—" Slowly, the words died too. Soon there was no fire, no sound, only the light in Walter's hand. Claire went up the last of the stairs and out onto the top of the tower. She saw Walter Burge, but he did not hear her. He looked across the fields. The orange-colored cat sat on the wall of the tower. It saw Claire, and its eyes were afraid. It moved away from her. Walter saw Claire's light. He turned quickly. Claire saw the stones behind him move. "The wall!" she called. Walter jumped away from the wall. His light fell from his hand and went out. The stones behind him fell into the night. Then half of the tower began to follow them. Claire and Walter ran across to the stairs and down them. They looked back when they got to the bottom, when the sound of the falling stones stopped. Most of the black tower was suddenly not there. They looked at it without speaking. Then Walter Burge said, "We're lucky that we're not dead." "Yes," said Claire. "But what happened to your cat?" "They found it in the snow at the bottom of the tower. It was dead." Walter said nothing. He walked away sadly. Aunt Min opened her eyes when she heard them coming. Mr. Burge came in first, then Claire. "Mr. Burge," Aunt Min began, "The girl told me about the accident with the car," said Walter. Aunt Min looked at Claire. "Are you all right?" "Yes," said Claire. Her face was white. "Some of the tower fell down," said Walter. "The snow, it's very heavy." He stopped. Aunt Min looked at him, then looked back at Claire. "I think I understand," she said. And they knew that she did. "I can take you home in my car," said Walter. "Thank you, Mr. Burge," said Aunt Min. They went outside to Walter's car. The snow stopped falling when they opened the door. They sat in the back and Claire looked out of the window at the castle. It was different. She was not afraid of it now. The black tower wasn't tall now. Most of it was not there. Claire looked at her watch. It was after midnight. "It's Christmas Day," she said. "Happy Christmas, Aunt Min. Happy Christmas, Mr. Burge." "Happy Christmas," they said together. Walter walked up to the castle the next morning. He went to the bottom of the black tower and looked at the stones. The fire-colored cat was not there. He looked for it carefully, but it was not there, and nobody ever saw the ghost of Jenny Castle again.